I had a question for you, Denil. You're in an enviable position where you're an entrepreneur, and there are many budding entrepreneurs or closeted entrepreneurs who are probably afraid to take that plunge. What advice would you give them, to those entrepreneurs slash investors? What advice would you give them if they are considering a journey?
Right. I think the first most important thing is that, and I'll start on the Asian context. I see two very different worlds. It's like a tale of two worlds. So first of all, from our lens, we see that, and I always ask anyone that I meet to prove me otherwise, is that all disruptive ideas, they still germinate out of America. There's very little, and then it's out of UK in Cambridge, and some maybe out of Europe, but America has a lead share. So it's like just the Nobel Prizes, just like the American universities, where people much more beeline than anywhere else and stuff like that. So now we are, many of us are from Asian origin, Asians, or even we have a significant amount of, or we are still based out in Asia. And Asia today is like half of the world population, predominantly because of India, China, and there is a lot of gaps. If you look at the insurance premiums, and you know that medical practically is not available to people on the street at the bottom of the pyramid. So things are changing, but then the basic difference between these two worlds is because we often are out there for a wrong reason. So the reason for the founder, entrepreneur, investor has to be correct. From the founder's entrepreneur standpoint, I'll first say that, why are you trying to do a startup? Is it a cool thing to do? You expect to make quick bucks and retire at 40? Is that the kind of aims that you are looking for? Then please don't come here. Then you are starting on a wrong reason. Are you here to make, say, instead a high impact? Make our planet shades better than what you inherited. You want to take a pot shot at some of the hardest of the hard problems that we are facing in our world. Say, for example, something which is not even attended to. Like, I give you two instances. One is cancer. A lot of money has been spent out there and nothing probably has happened. Similarly was climate. But what a non-automobile engineer through his Tesla has done to the climate is unbelievable as compared to all the automobile companies and oil and gas companies they have done. So these two sectors are completely disrupted. So one day you can even go and disrupt all the big pharma players in their inability to disrupt themselves and come out with a cancer medication. So that's a very hard call. And for that, you need to also have hard skills. You have to ask yourself, do you have the hard skills to solve? If you don't have, is there an attempt to acquire them? Is there even an attempt to build up a team who can think without analogy? Because what has worked in the past, if you're just thinking about it, then that's not disruption. You have to think that where is the main problem? So first principles. And how do I solve the main problem? If battery, the rare earth is the big problem, can I do a battery without rare earth? That should be the way to approach it. The moment you apply that kind of a first principle, then automatically the Moore's law, the Wright's laws set in, and the Murphy's laws fades out. And then for every growth that you achieve, you get exponential tailwind for your bottom line, for your business. So these are very simple. Again and again it has happened. People have to come for the right reason. Most of the time the reason is missing. And the second part of it is that in Asia, one of the main reasons why Asia is like what it is today as compared to, say, US, is essentially because in Asia, we are still not in a mindset where we can condone failure. Now, if we cannot condone failure, entrepreneurs will be scared to take risk. It's all about risk taking. So that mentality has to set in, but that will take its own time. That will, maybe in our generation, we will not see it that way. But probably in the next generation, that will be the mindset, because there will be no choice. Because the curve will get so much narrowed that you will have to take risk to move out of the narrow corridor. Today, what is happening, we are basically taking an American model. Even investors, there I have come across investors who say that, just tell me whose model are you copying, investor in Asia. Then I will know whether you will succeed or not, and then I'll put money in you. Doesn't work. If that is the kind of a mindset, that doesn't work. That may give you some immediate blips. You may get some very good 3-5 year run, depending on what time you have entered the market. But eventually they will all fall through the cracks because they were never built on a sustainable foundation. Instead, you have to rather think that, do I know more about the area that I'm investing? Am I willing to part my money for a much longer period for these fruits to really fructify? But instead, if the whole motive is how much you will give and how soon he will give me the returns, then this is not the place. You shouldn't be in private market. You shouldn't be indulging in tech. You should go and then invest in something which is already proven. And every time there is a market downturn, you will burn your fingers and come out. You will buy them at the highest of the price when the market is running, and then you will sell as soon as the market caves in, because you don't have conviction. It is the cave-in time when you need to back up the truck. Now, for that, you need to have a conviction that why is this company what it does and how has it changed since last 1 year that the markets have caved in. If nothing has changed, then the market is giving him a wrong value. And therefore, it's a great opportunity for the investor. Similarly, for entrepreneurs, we have to make sure that this is you can't build a sustainable business overnight. So you have to really, so we have seen often after funding, they are brisk in spending. So mostly a startup goes wrong on 2 counts: who you hire and who you take advice from. If you hire the wrong people and take advice from the wrong people, your business will collapse no sooner than you expect. And especially when the tide runs out, you will realize most of them, like the valuations have really crumbled, and these are great times to be, and this should happen. If it doesn't happen, we are in a froth.
Great. You mentioned skills quite a bit in what you talked about. You talked about talent, and the quest for talent is as high in a startup as it is in a big MNC, but sometimes the skills requirements is different. So what are the typical skills that a startup needs over and above everything else? And with that, how do you attract that in? Because sometimes in a startup, you don't have the brand name of a big company. How do you attract that talent, and what are those skill sets that I must have? How do you evaluate that?
Right. So again, it's all about what is your deed. So like even when we invest, we are often a small investor as compared to many of the investments that we have done. But how well we understand their business, how we can talk their language is what excites us or lets us get into their capitalization table, and we get a foot in the door. There's like same way, even for us to get, we hire very few. To get the right talent is a problem. It's a very big challenge. But then you have to also make out there are people who are not suitable for you because they don't have the risk appetite. They may be knowing their stuff, their industry, they have very good experience, but for them, analogy is a must, means has it happened in the past? Then they are not the right mindset. Then the second set of people, they are financially not even engineered to take these risks. Now, if you are the sole breadwinner and so many people depend on you, it will be very hard for you to leave Pfizer and join an Israeli startup. As compared to that, if you really look, so you have to go down to the younger generation of people who have more kind of the knowledge, the necessary, maybe the learning, but more importantly, they are able to undo the knowledge and they can take on a high learning. So this is all today is a journey all about learning, how fast you can learn rather than what you know. Because what you know is more like the morning newspaper. By the evening, it is all dated. And you have to have an extremely open mindset to do that. So many doesn't have. When they do have, then for these people, you have to pay a good price. And you have to talk your way through your deed. If they see you do good stuff, they will join you for sure. And then if someone is not excited about your options as part of his compensation, then he's not the right person. So these are some of the yardsticks through which you have to measure. And the good thing about startups is that you don't require people in dimes and dozens. You need few very good people who has a very strong sense of or a vision of how things can probably be done differently, rather than in the same way in the status quo. The penchant must be for disrupting the status quo. They must question everything that our world has taught us. The teachers have taught us, parents have taught us, including, does sun really rise in the east? So that's the kind of a mindset. And if you do this kind of work, you will definitely find people with those kind of mindset. And then the two falls in place.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Great.
Okay, yeah. So thank you. I mean, Devnil, do you have any questions for Arjun or anything else?
I think we had a wonderful discussion, and it has been quite. In fact, it was very nice to see that from a business side and from an investing side, there's a lot of convergence. I think we, in most of the things, we believed that we are seeing the same thing. So that's a huge endorsement, at least for us. And yeah, we'd love to stay in touch and have some more conversations along the way. And thank you very much, Sheetal, for organizing this.